I don't offer excuses. I try to offer explanations, and I try to give fans a perspective as to maybe a little bit differently just because I played the position and I've probably made decisions like him in certain areas of my career and then learned to grow out of it like most young quarterbacks do. But he not only did he throw the interceptions, which were obvious, and, again, when he has too much time and he tries to extend a play like Carson Wentz is doing in Philadelphia, and most of the time it's going to end up in just an absolutely bone-crushing mistake. And It's almost like his brain gets locked into, like, not understanding that I got to let go of the ball, I got to throw the ball into the ground, I got to throw it away, I got to take the sack. Punting is okay. Even if we have 9 punts in a game, it's okay, as long as we don't turn the ball over. And we don't turn the ball over near midfield and give the opposing team even if we have 9 punts in a game, it's okay, as long as we don't turn the ball over. And we don't turn the ball over near midfield and give the opposing team, good field position. And there are plays that this young man makes that you say to yourself, wow, he can really do it. And then there are plays that he misses. And this is where I actually have become to really, really like Brian Griese as an analyst. Because Brian Griese is telling you exactly what is going on, what is required, and what is not happening, and why it's not happening. And he is not, there's no fanfare with him. There wasn't like, we're going to give him $20 million to come in here and be the voice of Monday Night Football. We're not going to put him on a swing set as he's doing the game and all this other crap. We're going to just let him do the game with Louis Riddick and Steve Levy, and they're just going to talk football. And if you listen to Brian, I'll tell you, out of all the analysts right now, he is critical, he is honest, and he is telling you exactly what's going on the field. And he's doing it in a very low-key, very matter-of-fact manner, which I kind of like. It's a very comfortable listen. So maybe ESPN actually fell into something here. But to go back to a couple of the things that Brian was talking about last night, and I agreed wholeheartedly with him. There were at least 3 or 4 times where Daniel Jones had guys that were open past the defenders, past the cornerbacks of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he missed. He threw the ball out of bounds. He threw the ball too far. He threw it too short. He threw it too late. And, these are things that tell me that he, and I know people are so sick and tired of hearing this, and I'm sorry if I keep belaboring this point, but it's true. And this is what I see. Knowing what it's like to go from one system to another system to another system. You have these brain locks and these brain farts in the middle of the game where you're waiting for something to happen that you think is going to happen and it's not happening, and then therefore you try to extend the play. And really there's one quote after this game last night that tells you all you need to know of where the Giants are right now with their quarterback. And the quote came from the opposing coach, Bruce Arians. And he basically said that the young quarterback's trying to do too much, and those 2 interceptions cost them the game. And who would know better than Bruce Arians after coaching Jameis Winston last year and watching that meltdown in front of him? And that's why they jettisoned him. They didn't give him the contract extension, and they brought in Tom Brady.
Now, they did keep him there, Jameis Winston, for 4 years. This is Daniel Jones' second year, and the one that was the most infuriating, well, both interceptions were horrible, but with Darius Slayton, with the busted coverage right down the field, and he did have time to make that throw if he saw him, but he didn't. He wasn't even looking in that direction, and then he ends up getting guys hanging all over him, and he forces a throw to his right when he should be throwing the ball out of bounds. He finally learned that late in the fourth quarter to get the ball out of bounds, and like everybody was celebrating that, which is incredible. That was like the most eureka moment that happened last night for Daniel Jones, is to throw the ball away, and he forces a throw and you have an interception. I mean, the missed guys down the field, the not seeing the wide open wide receivers, the interceptions that he's throwing, it's gotten to the point now where when you're a rookie and you have some nice moments, you get the excuses, and right now it's not going to fly any longer. It's not. The Giant fan has just had it with this stuff. And then he gives you, on the last drive, 2 fourth-down conversions, the first of which was a downright miracle.
Yes.
Because he starts backing up and then throws the ball up like a prayer, and then throws that touchdown pass to Golden Tate, which was a spectacular throw. And then he misses, on the Dion Lewis on the 2-point conversion. Now, we'll talk about that penalty probably a lot today. People will scream about it. Joe Judge was pissed, and that was good to see. But he needed to throw the ball earlier, and they said it on the broadcast too. Griese and Riddick both said, Get the ball to the pylon there. You don't even have to worry about Antoine Winfield Jr. But you were late on the throw, and then you had Deion Lewis had to slow down to be able to try to catch it.
Yeah.
That's another mistake by Daniel Jones.
Yeah, the other thing, too, is just remember, Bruce Arians has only had Jameis Winston for 1 year.
Right.
So he saw enough and said, we got to get this guy out of here. He's killing us. I got a good team here. He's killing us. If we can convince Tom Brady to come here, we're going to be a really good team, and we're going to have a chance for a Super Bowl. And that's exactly, they're living in the moment short term, and maybe Tom plays, 2 or 3 more years. Who knows? But the thing, if Daniel Jones just watched Tom Brady last night, you see this is how you play quarterback. And even when you don't have your best stuff and you're not throwing the ball as accurately as you would like, you still win the football game because you don't turn the ball over. You don't give the team that you're playing against an opportunity for a short field, or you don't give up, like a field goal at the end of the first half and play soft defense. And by the way, I'm not so sure, and I guess it was confirmed because all scoring plays have to be confirmed, that Gronkowski touchdown was a touchdown. I'm in my day, there's no way that would have been a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, he catches the ball. He's got the 2 feet down.
Yeah, and you can stop it in his freeze frame. Stop it. He's got it. His feet are down, and he's got the touchdown. I mean, it's ridiculous. Right. I mean, that was and by the way, Jabril Peppers was all over the place last night. I'm just going by not watching the tape. I'm just going by watching the game and trying to remember the game from start to finish. I thought Jabril Peppers played his ass off. I thought the Giants' defensive line played their ass off. Even without Hernandez, the defensive line of the Giants played their ass off. The offensive line, they had over 100 yards rushing. Wayne Gallman played well. I thought Ingram made all the catches that he was supposed to make. You see the athleticism from that young man. And, he's not a great blocker. We know that. But, man, he's, you could see when he gets the ball in his hands what he can do if he's not fumbling it and not dropping it. There's more than enough, just so you know. If Daniel Jones is just on target last night and just making the right decisions, they have more than enough playmakers. They have playmakers. Oh. Sterling Shepard's a playmaker. Darius Slayton's a playmaker.
Sure.
Evan Ingram's a playmaker. Wayne Gallman is a slam-it-in-the-middle back, which is exactly what Giant fans love. You had a beat-up offensive line last night that played really well against a very good defensive line. You just had a quarterback that if you look at about 6 of his plays, if one of the 6 go the right way, then maybe they win the game. That's how tight this game was.
Well,
and they had a chance to win it every which way like they have had the previous 3 games.
Right. I mean, if either one of those interceptions isn't an interception, they probably win the game. I mean, they were the better team. Last night, they played better than the Buccaneers, hands down. Brady was not great last night. I mean, he did enough to win. He's Tom Brady, great. But he wasn't. I mean, he was missing guys, too. He didn't look great. The Giants did get to him. They did rattle him a little bit. They got him down to the ground a few times with a pass rush that has actually been somewhat respectable this year, which we didn't think would even happen with the personnel that they had. I mean, this is why it's just so annoying. And in a season like this, and I know that they played well and the result wasn't there, but you could still take away stuff, as we've said all year long with the Giants. But in a year like this, where you know that the Giants really weren't going to compete because
they are
still in the midst.
But they are competing.
I'm in the different sense of the word, as far as like going to the playoffs.
All right.
And going to the playoffs, winning the division, where they weren't going to do that. A win like this, you can look back to as a reference point, say, hey, remember when they beat the Buccaneers? And say that is something you can really build off of. When you're in all these tight games and you're losing them, and it's the same story over and over again, that you're close, but your quarterback is holding you back, and he's in the second year of his rookie deal, and you don't know exactly what to do with him, I don't really even know if that's progress. So winning these games is progress. Now, they got an opportunity the rest of the year with all these other games. We'll see if they can actually start finishing, and then you feel better about them. But, I mean, right now, that whole, they hung in there stuff is getting a little tired. It really is.
The other thing I liked last night is I liked Jason Garrett's, play calling. I like the play design. I like the trick plays. I like, going for it a couple times here or there. I like the fact that they were throwing the ball down the field. If the players execute the play, so if the quarterback executes the plays, we're sitting here today going, oh, man, what an offensive game plan by Jason Garrett. I mean, the opportunities were there, and Jason Garrett called what I thought was a great game. It was a great called game by Jason Garrett. People out there they're 1-7, they're losing. They're competitive. There's no more time for slaps on the back or pats on the back or any of this other crap simply because, they're losing. And it's been a habitual problem. And Joe Judge is trying to break the losing. He's trying to break the culture. Also, while trying to break in a young quarterback who's making killer mistakes that is costing his team in the long run. Now, I don't like the soft defense at the end of the first half. You can say whatever you want. They gave up a field goal, and that ends up coming back to haunt you because you end up losing by 2 points. You have, without question, that was interference on the 2-point play. So let's say a wide receiver is going down the field and he's running 100 miles an hour. He's 50 yards down the field. The quarterback throws the ball, and he just barely underthrows it. And the defensive back runs into and through the wide receiver because he can't see the ball, and he's kind of lost where he is, and he makes contact with the wide receiver. 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, what is the official doing?
Well, you got to throw a flag on passing.
And that's exactly what happened on that play. It just wasn't a go route. It was a flat route. It was an out route, whatever you want to call it. And it was badly thrown ball, and it caused the collision between the defensive back and Deion Lewis. So to me, it was clearly interference, and it should have been. But that doesn't decide the game. I guess it decides to tie the game. But there were so many other things that led up to that.
Oh, sure.
That cost the Giants the game.
Right, exactly. And I also still think the better execution would have gotten that done. I mean, you want to talk about play design and Jason Garrett. I mean, that should have been wide open.
Yes.
But
yes.
It was he waited too long to throw it, and then when he did throw it, the ball wasn't where it needed to be. So, I mean, that's what's infuriating about it. I also did think, not to be one of these, conspiracy guys, and it's not really a conspiracy, but I did think if the shoe was on the other foot, and that's Tom Brady throwing that ball to Leonard Fournette or Ronald Jones in that situation for a 2-point conversion, and they picking that flag up. I mean, I'm sorry to question integrity, but it just seemed to me like it's a lot easier to pick that flag up when we're talking about Daniel Jones and the, at the time, 1-6 Giants than it would be Tom Brady and Bruce Arians just screaming in your face about a pass interference call that could have extended the game and brought it into overtime in a year that they're trying to win a Super Bowl.
And by the way, the 2 interceptions that Daniel Jones threw are not on the offensive line. They're not on them. They held their guys out more than enough. And how many times have I said, after a Giant game, when does Daniel Jones get in trouble?
When he holds on to the ball too long.
When he holds on to the ball, and then all of a sudden his brain locks up, and he feels like he has to make a play that's going to try to win it. It's one thing if it's 4th down and it's late in the game like he did yesterday, and converted on 4th downs. It's another thing when you have to have It's called situational awareness, but you just have to understand where you are. And these turnovers are going to end up, forcing the Giants to make a decision at the end of the year if these next 8 games continue to look like the previous 8 games that look like a lot like last year. And last year he looked better overall because, everybody gave him a pass. It was a rookie. He had to learn the NFL, and he threw a lot of touchdown passes, and he was throwing down the field, and he was hitting guys in stride. And last night he missed 3 or 4 that would have been huge plays down the field. His wide receivers were open. He throws a couple out of bounds, throws a couple too far. One, he's not even looking at one side of the field. And, Darius Slayton even said, look, sometimes, the play is called the other way, and they don't really see our side of the field until they get back to us.
Yeah, but when your number one wide receiver has got man coverage and
you got to go for it
like that,
you got to go for it.
I'm sorry.
Again,
and
at that
point. Yeah, right. I mean, there's so many guys I could name, and not just the top-tier quarterbacks in the NFL. There's other guys I could name that would just let it fly in that situation. I mean, it's not like that was, some practice squad guy that you just elevated streaking down the field who's the 5th read. We're talking about Darius Slayton, the guy that you go down the field with the most. So that's why, to me, it was inexcusable. But, they did they were more aggressive, and we were killing them earlier in the year for not being more aggressive and getting the ball down the field. And they did that.
Come on, they were about as aggressive as you're going to be in a football game. And like I said, Daniel Jones just did not. I would give him a C in total overall performance because they don't get to where they were at the end of the game without him making some spectacular plays. And he did make a number of really good throws in this game too. I don't want to lose any of that. But it's all kind of washed over because of the 2 really bad interceptions. And then the late throw to Deion Lewis for the 2-point play. But, the Giant defense played their ass off. I thought the defensive line, like I said, played really good. I thought the patchwork offensive line played well. It was great to see Andrew Thomas pancake one of the defensive linemen for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers down on the goal line when Gallman runs one in. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you can build on. And there are certain players that you can see that are young players that are playing well. And you as a coach, when you look at the tape, you try to individually decipher what's going on for each individual player and are they getting better. And that the pancake block on the goal line by Andrew Thomas was awesome. It was an awesome block. Yeah. And it was great. And they even talked about it in the booth, too, because they know by doing their game study coming into the game that Andrew Thomas is under a lot of fire here because of where he was drafted, what position is he's playing. And the other guy is playing right tackle for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that is Tristan Wirfs, who will be moved to left tackle eventually. But, so I think Andrew Thomas took last night's game as like a personal affront. Like he wanted to show everybody that he's as good, if not better, than the guy that was also drafted in the first round for the same position. So I don't know. There's a lot of good things to take out of last night's game, and it's really, really unfortunate that I come in here this morning and you come in here this morning. We're tired. We stayed up. We watched the game. We get excited about these games, and then Daniel Jones, unfortunately, throws those 2 interceptions that just kind of take the air out of everything. But to his credit, he got up after being punched in the nose, and if the fans were there, they would have been booing the hell out of him. And he led his team all the way down the field, making spectacular play after spectacular play. Right. And then all of a sudden, it's a dud because of the stupid 2-point play at the end of the game.
Well, and also the fact that he should have never been in that situation to have it to make this fourth quarter, less than a minute drive down the clock because he made 2 critical mistakes earlier in the game.
I know, Jay, but I got to tell you, when you make mistakes in games and you continue to do it, those things kind of hang on you. And mentally, they hang on you. And then all of a sudden, you're afraid to make a play. You're afraid to pull the trigger. You're afraid to, your whole body gets tight. The games get tight. The momentum shifts. And for young players to, and I think this has happened to Sam Darnold. That's why I was saying yesterday that the Jets are in the midst of ruining Sam Darnold. It's because there's way too many of these things, and they're hanging on every misread or misthrow or turnover. But I have to say, the fact that he was able to do that is a good sign that he could put all that crap behind him and get his team to a point where they can at least tie the game. So, I mean, that's the silver lining stuff, but nobody wants to hear that. All these Giant fans are sick and tired of losing.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's been piling up. And then twice now on national TV games, Thursday night and Monday night, Daniel Jones had an opportunity to have his signature moment of the year and to win, to beat the Eagles in that situation, to beat the Buccaneers last night, and they didn't do it either time. It was either a drop pass here or the defense that folded against Philadelphia. It was a couple interceptions last night or what happened down at the goal line with the 2-point conversion. There were 2 times that we completely changed our tune about Daniel Jones and the Giants if 1 or 2 plays went the other way and they continue to go the wrong way.
And let me ask you a question, and let's try to be objective here, okay? Mm-hmm. And I seriously, I mean, the Jets are an embarrassment. Yeah. When you watch them, and Monday night will probably be embarrassing again. They are an embarrassment.
Worst team I've ever seen to this point. Now, they may get better, but it's the worst team I've ever seen in my lifetime up until this point of the season.
But the Giants overall for the last 3 years have been worse in terms of losses. Yeah. The Giants have been god-awful. But now let's try to look at this thing objectively. What is your overall feeling? I know they're 1-7 of a Joe Judge coach team and the way that they look on the field.
I think that they're prepared. I think that they're inspired. I think that they are detailed for the most part, even though there's some bad penalties. One, by the way, we didn't even mention that terrible helmet penalty that was just a defensive back receiving the hit from the wide receiver, but that should not have been a penalty. Yeah, I think that they're organized. They're spunky. There's a bunch of things in there that you really like about the team. And I like Joe Judge so far as a leader and a head coach and his details and his preparation. I do like all of that.
All right. So that's the objective side of it. And, for me, I'm not a Giant fan. I'm not a Jet fan. However, I want both teams to win because it's a hell of a lot easier to do our jobs when they're winning as opposed to when they're sucking. But if you're going to suck, you might as well suck all the way, and that's the way the Jets are doing it right now. The Giants, are still They got 8 games left. And we're all going to watch these games, and we're all going to see whether or not Daniel Jones is going to get better and better and better, or is he going to get stuck on turning the ball over? Because if he gets stuck on turning the ball over and they continue to lose because of those turnovers, the Giants are going to be forced to make a very, very significant decision come draft day, especially if they are in the top 3, because there'll be other quarterbacks that will be. Yeah. I know that right now they're second. There will be other quarterbacks that will be available, and like. You can say whatever you want. I think Daniel Jones is either going to play his way out of here or he's going to play his way in here. And I think that they are teetering on thinking about, like, you know what? We're seeing good things, but we're seeing way too many bad things. And how many more games can we put up with the turnovers happening?
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.